Hello everybody and welcome to this new video series where I'm going to take you from my board game idea all the way through to Kickstarter success. You see, last year I launched Airport Empire, which was my first board game and first Kickstarter campaign. I raised over 800% of its goal, which equated to about 80,000 US dollars. I'm in the final stages of this campaign, as in I'm fulfilling the orders now, they're going out to all the backers, and I've already got ideas for the next board game, which I'm going to plan to launch at the end of 2026. So during the process, you often get emails and messages from creators and people with similar ambitions asking about the Kickstarter process, the manufacturing process, designing processes, etc. So I thought, since I'm about to start, this would be a great opportunity to document the whole process. So you guys can follow along and see how I do things well, and learn from all the mistakes I'm definitely going to make. So yeah, follow along and let's go on this journey together. This is just the introduction to the series, but at the end of this video, I'm going to include a section on budgeting, which is obviously one of the most important aspects. So make sure you stick around to the end for that. So a little bit about me. My name is Jason. I live in Hong Kong, but I'm British. This is my side hustle, or actually side hobby is probably the best way to look at these things. My full-time job is I'm an airline pilot by trade, hence the airport theme. I've spent lots of time staring at airports, so it inspired me to make this game. So Airport Empire came about from my passion for the old school tycoon games. The Sim Cities, Roller Coaster Tycoons, those style of PC games. And that's what I've created here. It's a board game version of those tycoon games where you compete against another player to build your airport from a small airstrip up into a big international hub. And while you're building your airport, you have to accommodate your customers and your shareholders and the airlines. Each building has points in profits, efficiencies, and customer service, while you have to deal with daily events, while you're competing against an opponent. So that's how this game came about. My next game is going to build onto that. It's going to go deeper into the tycoon game. But I'll talk more about that as the series goes on. So how this video series is going to work is I'm going to keep a running tally of the costs first of all. So as the time goes on, you can see exactly how much I'm spending. Then I'm going to keep a running tally of the time it's taking me, so you can also see that as well. Each video I'll break down into 3 sections. I'm going to have the recap, insights, and objectives. So we're going to start with the recap, which will be of the objectives from the last video. What I've done since that last video, what went well, what didn't go well, and what I've achieved. Insights, well that's going to be, I'm going to go a bit deeper into certain topics. So if there's anything specific you want me to cover, make a comment down below and I'll make sure I cover that when I get to it. And then finally, objectives. So what do I want to achieve for the next video, and so on. With all this in mind, I'm going to give you a few caveats. This is not a how-to video. You are simply following me along on my journey. As I mentioned, I have just finished this campaign and I'm fulfilling it now. People are going to get these boxes in their hand and I'm going to get some feedback which I will apply to the next game, good or bad. And as things go along, you can see how I do it, and if you think that's great, I'll do that with my campaign, or I'm not going to do that. Learn from my mistakes, please do. So this is not how-to, this is just follow me along on the journey. And also just talking about my philosophy a little bit. I try and do everything I can. The more I can do, the cheaper the project is, and the more control I have of it. So if you are like me and you don't have a big team and you're a one-man band, just follow me along and we can see how we can get through these things together. My general philosophy is I just don't want to let the backers down. I want to create the best product. I don't want to cheap out. I want to do things the cheapest I can do before it starts looking cheap, if that makes sense. And I try and get as much done before the campaign. So when the campaign goes live, basically everything's ready and there's not much left to chance. I don't like to launch a campaign and think I'll do that afterwards. Let me just get the money, I'll do that afterwards, and then eventually let people down. So that's my philosophy. By the time I get to the campaign, I essentially want everything done and I want the product to be as good as it can be for the backers. And that's basically it for this introductory video. So if you're keen to follow along, like it, subscribe, and comment below if there's any topics you really want me to hit on. And with that in mind, let's talk about budgeting, which I said we'd cover at the beginning of the video. So my budget for this campaign is based off what I spent on this campaign, which is 25,000 US dollars. So that might sound a bit intimidating at first, but just bear with me a little bit. I'll explain how it's broken down and at what point we spend that money. So 25,000 US dollars most of that spending comes at the end. So you can start the process as cheaply as you can, and then as things, as you're making progress, you feel more comfortable committing more money and more money and more money. So by the time you do start to spend the real money, things are looking good. So how does it break down? $25,000. Say about half of that, let's say $12,000. That's on marketing. That's at the end. So it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but you spend it as you have success in the marketing. So the marketing is doing well, you're getting a good return on investment. Let's spend more, let's spend more, let's spend more. So although that sounds scary, you're getting return on it. So that's $12,000. That leaves us with $13,000. About 10,000 of that I put in the middle. That's for your illustration and graphic design. So illustration is obviously expensive, and graphic design is expensive. Graphic design is actually more expensive than illustration. You don't quite realize how much graphic design you need. That covers a lot of things. It's your box, your rules, your Kickstarter page, your website splash page, all that kind of stuff. So $10,000 will cover you on that. So that leaves us with $3,000. And that's just all the miscellaneous stuff. It's your domains, your websites, trademarks, all that kind of thing. Again, though, that is kind of $3,000 spread out throughout the whole campaign. So if you're interested, but you don't want to commit too much money yet, don't worry, because the first few stages is basically free. You don't have to spend any money. You can just make your prototypes, play it with people, and then once you've really got traction, then you start spending money. So you'll see in the first few videos as we go along, the money is not going to rank up too quickly. So follow along, don't be too scared. We'll take it step by step. And like I say, I try and do things as cheaply as I can before it looks too cheap. So that's the budget, $25,000. And that's where we're going to go with from there and base our project off. And we'll see how close I get to that at the end. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, if you do want to learn more about Airport Empire, so as we're talking about it, you know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link to the rules of that game here, and you can catch up and see how it plays.